Hello everyone, this is the third in the segment of when can you take off your tefillin, and today, when do we take off our tefillin on Rosh Chodesh? The Shulchan Aruch Paskins, opinion number one, and that is B'yom Rosh Chodesh, Chol Tzil Tam Kodem Tefillat Musaf, you take it off before Musaf, and there's two explanations given. The Beit Yosef, Rav Yosef Karo himself, who wrote the Shulchan Aruch, says, because you're about to say the Kedusha of Keter, as is Nusach Sfard and Musaf Keter Yitnu Lecha, we give a crown to you, God, and it's not nice to say that when you have the crown of tefillin on your head. The Radbaz says a different explanation, even for the Nusach Ashkenaz people that won't say Keter. The Musaf Tomeh Rosh Chodesh Liyamim Tovim, Shenikru Ot, Ra'ui Lasot Lo Heker Zeh. Indeed, the Korbanot Musaf on Rosh Chodesh are very similar to the Korbanot Musaf on any Yantiv, not to mention the fact that it's a Musaf, something that you only daven on special days, and therefore we're going to act in Musaf like we do on special days. We daven Musaf, so since on Shabbos and Yontif we take off our tefillin, so too when we daven Musaf on Rosh Chodesh, we'll take off our tefillin, and this is spelled out beautifully by Mordechai Yafe in one place in the Levush, Simon Kafhei, that you take off your tefillin before Musaf, even when you don't say Kedushat Keter, Bipnei Shetfilat Musaf u'b'mkom hakrafat korban Musaf, shebo bayom, v'anu osim oto kimin Yom Tov, lefachot be'et ha'hakrava. Indeed, the Musaf is in place of sacrificing, so at least at the moment of sacrificing, we're going to act as if it's a Yontiv. So Yontiv clothes we don't put on, but at least the tefillin we take off. So opinion number one is you take it off before Musaf. However, the Levush himself, not in Simon Kafei, in Simon Taf Kaf Gimel Seif Dalet, says, Lini re lachlotz tefillin be'eit kriyat ha-sefer Torah kodem shekor'in uver hashechot shechem. Take it off before you read the Torah, before Laining. The Logara Musaf kriyat ha-sefer Torah, Musaf Tefillah, because we're going to talk about the sacrifices in the Kriyas Torah. So because we just said that when you sacrifice a Musaf, you should act as if it's a Yontiv, namely in Musaf. So act that way when you talk about the sacrifices in the Laining. And this is repeated in Simon Tav Tzadi, that you take it off before you read the Torah. The Ha-Kriya Hi Gamken Bimkom Ha-Hakrava Kemo HaTfilah. And this is not just the opinion of Rav Mordechai Yafe, the Ramami Pano from Italy, who was responsible for the printing of the Shulchan Aruch, says that you should definitely not be like the people that take it off right before Musaf, but rather Achar Shegamar Tfilat Shachris, and do not wait until before Musaf. V'hamagdim lachlotz kodem Hallel harei ze meshubach, and it's even better to take it off before Hallel of Rosh Chodesh. The poor Chazan can't do that, he says, so he'll take it off after the Hallel, but definitely before Laining. And from this perspective, he even says it's absolute chutzpah. Kedusha de Sidra, namely Avalat Tzion, is gearing up towards Musaf, and as you're gearing up towards Musaf, you're also rapping. Not the way to gear up before standing before God. And therefore, he says, the best thing to do is to do it earlier. Now, even though the Levush and the Ramami Panel says to do it before Laining, and according to the Ramami Panel before Hallel, this is not the accepted opinion, as I don't have to tell you. And indeed, the Magen Avraham says explicitly, the Loka Levush, don't do like the Levush. The Divrei Chamudot, the Perush of the Tosfos Yantiv on the Rosh, indeed, brings this opinion and says, V'li eini rakein, because with due respect, when you talk about an oat, a day being like a sign, like a Yantiv, that has to be a day that from night to night, there's restrictions. So indeed, even a Cholamoid Pesach, there's a restriction of chametz from night to night for 7 days. Sukkah, we have an obligation to sit in it from the beginning of Sukkot for 7 days. Shabbos, we're not allowed to do malacha from the beginning of Shabbos to the end. Rosh Chodesh, with due respect, how are you supposed to say, in his words, Lechalek hayom velomar shemiktzat hayom chayav b'tefillin u'miktzato lo. You can't divide a day into the middle, and therefore it's not an oath, it's not a sign that would prohibits you from wearing tefillin like on Shabbos, and therefore he says the proper minhag is take it off before Musaf. And Rabbi Chayafe has to acknowledge that even though he had his opinion, nohagin lachlos tefillin kishrotzim litpalel musaf, shetfilat musaf b'mekom korban musaf, uvet akravat musaf, ugamo yom tov mamish ve'ein tzarich ot. In other words, he also acknowledges that the minhag is before musaf only. So, assuming that that is the case, here's the question: when do we take it off? We have 4 opinions. The Ateret Skenim, Rav Auerbach, who lived in the 1600s, says that in his opinion you should take it off during Uval Etzion when you say the famous words Shenishmor Chukecha, going back to that famous bracha that we don't say when you take off tefillin, but like as a zeicher ladavar, take it off when you say those words, something that's repeated by the Eliyahu Rabbah. Ma tov la'asok b'chalitza kishomer yehi ratzon shenishmor chukecha. Opinion number 2 is the Eliyahu Rabbah himself. He says after Uvar L'Tzion, kemo b'shar yamim, after Uvar L'Tzion, like you're allowed to do every other day according to the Shulchan Aruch, but don't do it after Kaddish, because it would be a hefsek between Kaddish and Musaf. Not to mention, it's not proper. You're standing before God in a moment, and right away, as he says, kecholetz lifnei rabo, you're getting all dressed in front of God. Opinion number 3 is the Be'er Heitev, acharei Chazarat Sefer Torah B'Hechal, repeated by the Magen Avraham after you put back the Torah, Nusach Sfard obviously, namely, after Ashrei Uval Etzion you put back the Torah, and before Kaddish. And opinion number 4, which seems to be the most accepted, is the Shari Tshuva in the name of the Arizal, put it away after Kaddish. And indeed, this is the opinion that the Mishnah Berurah brings. He says, Achei Shechzira Sefer Torah B'Hechal, and in our places it means after Kaddish, shekodem tfilat musaf. That seems to be the common custom, even though it seems to be a hefsek between Kaddish and the beginning of Musaf. So we have to assume that the machlokas is this Chatzi Kaddish ending Shachris? And if that's the case, no problem then to take it off afterwards. Or no, the Chatzi Kaddish is the beginning of Musaf. And if that's the case, you should take it off before the Chatzi Kaddish. That finally, and most importantly, when you take off your tefillin, it's absolutely prohibited to leave the shel rosh there. You can leave the shel yad, put it in the box, but not the shel rosh. This is based on a bach that says anytime you put away your tefillin, you should put it into the bag of the tefillin right away, because if not, you're going to afterwards get mixed up, and in the morning you may take out the shel rosh before the shel yad, and then you're going to put it on the side, and that's called ma'avirina la mitzvot, not doing the mitzvah right away. Since the order is first shel yad, then shel rosh, you should put it in the bag and make sure it's on, say, the right side where you usually put it before you start Musaf. So take off the shel rosh, fold it. Shel yad you can just put in the box and fold after Musaf, but the shel rosh you should put it in. And that's what the Mishnah Berurah paskins in Simon Kavchet Seif Chet Nachon Yizaher Shelo Lachlot Shel Yad Ad Sheyaniach Shel Rosh B'toch Hatik Kedei Shelo Yishkach V'Yaniach Shel Yad Chila B'toch Hatik. So therefore, it seems like the common minhag is to take it off before Musaf, not earlier. The common minhag is after Kaddish. And when you do, make sure to put the Shel Rosh folded in the bag. You can leave the Shel Yad in the box and fold it afterwards, but the shel rosh should be in the bag before you take your 3 steps back for Musaf.
Male, misha lo